Max Verstappen produced a stunning late pass on Charles Leclerc to take victory in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix sprint and ensure a first-place start for Sunday's race. Verstappen, who had started ahead of Leclerc after taking pole in a wet qualifying session on Friday, lost the lead after a poor start, enabled the Ferrari to beat him to the first corner. To the delight of the pastime Italian crowd, Leclerc looked to be cruising to victory, but his tyres started to wear in the closing stages of the 21-lap race, and Verstappen took advantage to strike at the start of the penultimate lap and claim the 8-point reward for winning the race. My start was not very good, and it took a while to put the pressure on. Verstappen said after the sprint, "We were a bit better on our tyres at the end of the race, so I could get into DRS, and we had a good fight into turn 2, he says. The other Red Bull, Sergio Perez, finished third after a solid drive to rise from 7th, while Leclerc's teammate Carlos Sainz produced a strong recovery from 4th, having started 10th after crashing out of qualifying yesterday. It was another disappointing day, however, for Mercedes, as George Russell was unable to improve on the 11th place he started in, and Lewis Hamilton dropped to position to finish 14th. McLaren were able to overcome a disastrous practice 2 as the sprint to feel 5th and 6th, with Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo, while Valtteri Bottas was able to put aside his absence from P2 to finish 7th. Kevin Magnussen took the final point for Haas and 8th, but yeah, they started in the medium tyres, and it's a bit of a weird strategy, and it didn't really seem to pay out, to be quite honest. But after Leclerc passed Verstappen off the line, there was little more action was able to develop as Guan Yu Zhou and Pierre Gasly triggered a safety car as they clashed in Piratella in an incident that forced the Alfa Romeo to retire on the opening lap. Gasly was able to continue after a pit stop, but the safety car meant the race did not resume until the end of the 4th lap, taking away a significant chunk of the 21-lap contest, which was the first sprint of the 2022 season after the format was introduced to the sport last year, of course. Upon the resumption, Leclerc opened a gap that was keeping Verstappen well out of DRS range, but wearing his front tyres, enabling the Dutchman to get close and set up a thrilling finish. Leclerc, who has won 2 of the 3 of the opening races this season, was able to deny Verstappen at first, but the reigning world champion was not to be denied on the penultimate lap as he boldly drove around the outside of turn 1 at the end of the DRS zone to take the lead. Any Tifosi hopes that Leclerc would be able to use the DRS zone to fight back were quickly dispelled as Verstappen pulled clear to seal the new increased for this season 8 points for first place, with each of the top 8 scoring points with a drop of 1 for each position. Leclerc actually extends his championship lead to 40, with Sainz moving past the pointless Russell into second. It's still a front row start, said Leclerc. We struggle with the tyres at the end, so we need to analyse that for tomorrow. We need to make sure that we're ready. The pace was good until then. We started to have some grading on the front left, and it lost us toward the end. That's life. We'll work hard and come back stronger tomorrow, he concluded. At the end of a disappointing day probably for him, but there's still tomorrow to come. But anyway, after what appeared to be a potentially promising performance in practice 2 earlier on Saturday as Russell topped the timesheet, Mercedes produced a hugely disappointing sprint display. Russell lost a place at the start while Hamilton lost 2. Russell was only able to regain the place to finish 11th, while Hamilton could only reclaim one of the top spots. He lost to finish 14th. The Silver Arrow's inability to pass the lower midfield cars around them does not bode well for Sunday's Grand Prix, with the points finishes far from guaranteed, judging by Saturday's showing. The display follows a terrible start to the season for the 8-time reigning Constructors' Championships, who have been severely off the pace set by Ferrari and Red Bull at the opening races of the season. A lot of work is going in the background, but it is what it is. Hamilton said after the sprint, "This is what we have this year, and ultimately we haven't got it right. We're obviously not fighting for this championship, but we're fighting to understand the car and improve." And yeah, the thing is for Mercedes, that definitely does mark a change, because even last week in Australia, or a few weeks ago, or whatever else, Hamilton was still saying he thought maybe Mercedes could get back in the championship, and especially Russell was saying that, but that kind of seems to have changed now. But yeah, we'll just have to see what happens with Mercedes. But anyway, moving on then to the final classification. Max Verstappen obviously winning. Great drive from here after a disappointing start. That's a really good performance. Charles Leclerc in second. I think he'll be pleased with that. I would say second is probably a better starting place. But yeah, just needs to manage tyre better. Perez and Sainz, I think both will be happy. That's good recovery. And McLaren best of the rest. That's a good result for them. Bottas in seventh. I think he did really well there. Great drive from him. Magnussen in eighth, however, probably disappointed. I think they got the tyre strategy wrong today, Haas, which is a bit of a shame. But then Fernando Alonso in ninth. Alpine just didn't really seem to have the pace today, which is a bit of a shame. But Mick Schumacher on Ted, the medium tyres need to work a bit better around him. I don't know if because he had worse cars around him, but decent performance for him, and he's in a great position to take his first points tomorrow, I would say. And then you've got George Russell in 11th and Hamilton in 14th. Obviously been over it plenty, but yeah, just so disappointing for Mercedes. I really thought maybe they could advance in the sprint, but it just didn't pan out that way. A shocking performance. Tsunoda in 12th, he made that some great progress, but Vettel down in 13th after a promising Q3. Back in the doldrums for Aston Martin, and Stroll behind Hamilton in 15th. So yeah, huge shame for Aston Martin after what looked like to be an improvement yesterday. And then you've got Esteban Ocon, big shame for him really, because he couldn't make up many places after that disappointing quali yesterday with the issue. And then Pierre Gasly in the AlphaTauri, shame about the collision, but at least he can get past the two Williams cars, but it is what it is for them. And then you've got the Williams cars, and to be honest, it was quite a disappointing day for Williams, because we saw in the last few races, especially in Australia, Albon was able to fight, especially with that super long straight, but today they were pretty far off, so that could be slightly concerning for them really. But anyway guys, that's it for the video. Thanks very much for watching. So like, share, subscribe, don't forget to comment down below, follow up to the next show for daily F1 news, and subscribe to my channel on Instagram, and I'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace.